It's a black box in the box, rock and celluloid. So I'm going to be covering some music today. I don't do many musical articles on this channel now. I tend to keep it for film and TV. But I thought I'd have a troll through the albums of the German power metal band Primal Fear, a band I enjoy. Yes, Primal Fear was formed in 1997 by Matt Sinner from the band Sinner, a well-known guy in the German metal scene, and Ralph Scheepers. Now, Ralph Scheepers had actually been sort of hired as a replacement for Rob Halford, but I'm not sure Priest were totally sure. And then they found Ripper Owens. So I think they did a Judas Priest covers gig or something like that, Ralph Scheepers and Matt Sinner, and then decided to form a band. They got to deal with Nuclear Blast. And Primal Fear was born, and they're the mainstays. It's had, people coming in and out at different times. And that's what they do, is Judas Priest style heavy metal. Right out of the box, the first album was pretty successful in Germany. Here's the cover, it's back to front as usual, sorry. You'll find the cover the right way around elsewhere. So originally when I got this album, I wasn't that fussed with it because I'd kind of got other albums late first. So the first albums I checked out by them were Black Rain and Devil's Ground, which we'll come to. The reason for that was around sort of 24, 25, I was just looking for new heavy metal to get into, and I'd sort of stumbled across a Primal Fear, were a band that played Judas Priest style heavy metal. So I thought, well, it might be up my street, and I found I quite enjoyed it. But I've kind of gone back to this album since, and it's really good. The production's not as good as they've achieved down the years, but 50 minutes long. It does what it says on the tin. Big screaming heavy metal, ripping guitars. The opening track just lays down the law, really. I mean, based on this album, you've got a cover of Speaking by Deep Purple and a little intro called Primal Fear. So basically there's 10 original tracks, probably. The Chainbreaker on this, if you didn't like Chainbreaker, you wouldn't like Primal Fear. It's a ripping heavy metal track with stupid sci-fi lyrics that I like. It's basically kind of like a Mad Max type lyric. You got Silver and Gold, Promised Land, they're good. Formula One, stupid lyric about driving in Formula One. A lot of bands do it, but it's really catchy. And then there's a track with Dollars, which is really good. The cover of Speed King works really well. Sheepers does a great kind of take on the Ian Gillan style. You got Battalions of Hate, Running in the Dust, and then it finishes with a Cork of Thunderdome. So it's a solid. When Primal Fear is good, the albums tend to creep up to an 8 out of 10. I'd probably give this a 7, 7.5. They've never done a 10 out of 10, a 9 out of 10. For me, they haven't made a classic album. I don't think they're original enough to do that. But if you're craving metal, you can't go wrong. So the next album I did was Jaws of Death. I don't think this is as strong. So I don't have a copy of this, but it is good. Again, it just follows the formula. It's got an intro, Jaws of Death, 22 seconds. Then you've got 10 tracks. Final Embrace, Save a Prayer, Church of Blood. They're all good. In the future, Plate of Kill's a good one. And then you've got Fight to Survive, Hatred in My Soul. Not quite as strong, not as memorable this. I mean, it gets better reviews in some ways. Some people would think it's better. And I wouldn't say it's not worth, not checking out. The bonus track on one of the repressings has a cover of Kill the King by Rainbow, and they do classic metal covers every album. Quite often there's actually an album, compilation album of top metal covers, and they're very good. Sheepers has the ability to deliver the different vocals really well. He's got some odd pronunciations because he's German, so he has that sort of weird transatlantic sort of thing going on, but the guy can unleash full-on metal screams, and you can see why he nearly got the Judas Priest gig. I think he would have been better than Ripper Owens, actually. I think he's more melodic. I think there was rumours that they didn't quite hit it off personality-wise. There was kind of the language barrier, sense of humour thing, I don't know. So the third album, again, when I first got this, there it is, Nuclear Fire, top album cover, and that's back to front. When I first got this album, again, because I'd heard the two albums following it, I wasn't as into it. It's kind of like more of the same, but going back to it, this is their thirst, like, really good album. This is an album of their early ones I would recommend buying. If you didn't like this album, you're not going to like Primal Fear. This is Nuclear Fire. So you got Angel in Black opens up, great double kick drum power track, just properly fast fucking metal. Kiss of Death, really good, typical kind of 12/8 type of meter. Back from Hell's good. Now or Never's got a great sort of, almost like an AC/DC kind of chunky metal riff, a bit Saxon. Fight the Fire's okay. Eye of the Eagle's alright. Then Bleed for Me is a pretty good ballad. They got Nuclear Fire, Red Rain, which are really, really good. Fire on the Horizon, which is a good track. And then it's got one of their daft tracks, Living for Metal. So Primal Fear often do tracks with metal in the title and celebrate all this metal. These are never their best tracks, but they're always fun and they put you in the mood for metal. And then the bonus track you really need to get is Iron Fist in the Velvet Glove. A great vocal by Sheepers on this. I think it's the best track on the album apart from Angel in Black. And they do a cover of Out in the Fields as well. But this is the first, it's a classic of Euro Power Metal. 2000 it's released. Production's getting better at this time. Around this time as well, they've got something. We've got Ralph Sheepers, Matt Sinner, obviously, guy called Stefan Liebing on guitar. He will appear in quite a few albums. He's on the album before. And the drummer is Klaus Sperling. I forget how many albums he does. Guitarists tend to stay for a few albums and then leave. So the first Primal Fear album I got is about to appear, and it's 2002's Black Sun. Great album cover, that proper metal. So yeah, this is a good record. I mean, at the time I would have said, oh, this is better than Nuclear Fire, but I've kind of switched now. But it continues the thing with Nuclear Fire, and it's got mainly sci-fi lyrics on this. It kind of fits in with the concept that they're getting on a ship and going to Black Sun. So typically it opens with a little instrumental, Countdown to Insanity. You know, it's interesting, Saxon started doing this as well around this time, so it's a very power metal thing. And then it goes into the title track, Black Sun, which is fucking ripping. Again, it's like Angel in Black, just fast double place metal, massive metal screams, basically getting on the spaceship with Primal Fear, going to your fucking heavy metal planet. It's good. Then you got Armageddon, which is really good. Light Years from Home, not as good, kind of Halloweenish. Revolution's good. Fear, not into that. Mind Control, Magic Eye, they're good. Mind Machine, Silence, that's a really melodic track. We Go Down, that's a really ripping track. That's track 11. Then Cold Day in Hell, Controlled, aren't as good. So again, this, it's a 7 out of 10 album. Like I say, Nuclear Fire I would give an 8. Okay, so their album after this is Seven Devil's Ground. Now I used to have this album, and this was one of the first ones I heard by them, but when I listened to it late down the line, it's just starting to kind of repetitive, and they kind of change things up in a bit. I think the lineup on this, Tom Nauman comes in on guitars, and Randy Black comes in on drums. I think he actually plays on Black Sun. Just let me check that. No, it's Klaus Sperling. So Randy Black, he's playing Annihilator, and he stays with quite a few albums. He's really good. He's got a great feel, great power. So that changes things up quite nicely. But this, you got Metal is Forever opening up, so it's one of their Daft Metal songs, which is good. Suicide and Mania is good. Visions of Fate's alright. Sea of Flames is ripping. And then you got The Healer, which is a good track. Sacred Illusion, not that great. Then you got In Metal, so they've got 2 metal songs in this song, which is alright. Soul Chaser, Colony 13, not that great. Wings of Desire, that's pretty good. They got Heart of a Brave, which isn't that great, and then Devil's Ground's just a sort of spoken things. This is kind of slipping more into a 5, 6 out of 10. If you're going to spend time with Primal Fear, there's better albums. And so things change a bit. They start to try and change the sound with the next album, which is Seven Seals. It keeps the same lineup. That's Ralph Sheepers, Stefan Liebing on guitars, Tom Nauman, Matt Sin, Randy Black. Production, Charlie Beaufine does this. You'll know him from his work with Saxon. And he always does a good job. And Hammerfall, I think Lionheart by Saxon and the 5th Hammerfall album is his best work, production-wise. So the problem with this album is the tracks are very long. I mean, it's 10 tracks, 54 minutes, and then you get a bonus track, The Union, which is pretty good. The songs aren't bad on this, but they're just kind of not going to the next level for me. But the songs that stand out, there's the Diabolus is pretty interesting, and then In Memory and The Union, the last couple of tracks. Seven Seals, the title track's really good on this actually, but again it's kind of a 5, 6 out of 10. It's a compilation at this point. They leave the Nuclear Blast out label, and Nuclear Blast released the Metal is Forever compilation, and that's a pretty good compilation, so you could check that out if you wanted to. So then they switched to Frontiers Records, and usually Frontiers melodic rock label AOR and Primal Fear go with them, and they do the New Religion album. And this is better. They kind of take the production elements from the previous album, still the same lineup, pretty you know, what's the word I'm looking for? The guitars are quite harsh on this. Matt Sinner produces this, and that's how it will go from now on. And Matt Sinner will produce and use some top people to mix it. But it opens with Sign of Fear, which is an excellent track, really good. Face the Emptiness is pretty good. Then you got Every Time It Rains, and they do a duet with Simone Simons on that. Quite a bit of auto-tune on that. Not that Ralph Sheepers can't sing in pitch, he can, but they've just decided to auto-tune it at points, which is a bit strange. New Religion's okay. Then you got Fight in the Darkness, and I think this is probably maybe the greatest Primal Fear song. It's actually split into 3 parts, but it's the first part, the ballad. Really superb vocal, great production. I strongly recommend, this was a single, strongly recommend you check out this track. Really, really powerful track, full of emotion. Blood on Your Hands is good, Cause Sounds Alright, Too Much Time's okay. Psycho, then you got World on Fire, The Man I Don't Know. It's pretty consistent. It doesn't, you know, most of the tracks on this, you've got kind of like spot on tracks and 6 out of 10 tracks. I still give it a 7. But it's, you know, it produces good tracks, especially Every Time It Rains and, of course, Fight in the Darkness. So, at this point, they released the 16.6 Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. I just couldn't get away with this album. Bought it at the time. Just too many tracks. I had a digipack. There's 15 tracks on it. And for me, none of the tracks really stepped above the plate, the thing I was talking about before. But there's the track Riding the Eagle. Actually, it's got an intro as usual. Riding the Eagle's a good double kick drum track. And it's all about like being on the road with Primal Fear and being metal, because I have this eagle image. Then, other than that, Black Rain's pretty good. Then it just, I don't know, it just doesn't kind of stand out. I think Scream's pretty good, the bonus track. But it's probably their weakest album up to now. For me, but some people really like it. Then things change. They make a kind of a decision. Apologies, I'm just going to check on the lineup. A guy called Henry Walter would come back on guitars for the 16.6 album. But they get Magnus Carlsen in to do a couple of things, and you'll know him from various projects. And then they decide to make that more permanent on the next album, Unbreakable. And this is where things start to step up for me. So they've got a guy called Alex Beirut in on guitars. I think he's French, and he's really good. And at this point, with Magnus Carlsen and Alex, they've got the best guitar duo they've had. The guitar sounds better now, more rich, better vibrato. You've got Randy Blackstone on drums, Matt Sinner and Ralph Sheepers, and this is a cracking album. This is maybe their best album for me. So it's got an intro, of course, Unbreakable, and then it goes into Strike, which is really good. Great opening track, just proper metal. Top album cover. Proper metal track. Give 'Em Hell, which is pretty good. Bad Guys Wear Black, which is pretty good. And then there was Silence, which is a good kind of Halloween style track with big harmonies. And then my favourite track, Metal Nation. They're at it again with a metal track, but it's really catchy. Where Angels Die is a really epic ballad. So at this point, they start to do tracks that are 8 minutes plus long with orchestrations. And like I said, they're developing the sound. Unbreakable Part 2. It's good. Marching Again, another cool sort of Halloween type track. Born Again. Then Blaze of Glory, Conviction. Good. I mean, it's never really dips, and you get a track on Night of the Jumps, which is a bonus track, which is kind of like They're Living After Midnight. But it keeps a consistency, this album. And it's pushing an 8 out of 10. It's certainly a 7.5. So debating that is the next album, Delivering the Black. Now this may be better. I think the production's better. They have a change here. Randy Black's still on drums. And Alex Beirut and Magnus Carlsen. Beirut, sorry, I can't pronounce it. So this is interesting. It's a 10-track album, so if you get that, it's pretty lean and mean. King for a Day's great. Then it's Rebel Faction. That's a really good track. When Death Comes Knocking, this is a single. Check out the video for this. This has got a great riff. Then Alive and On Fire, really, really good. And then Delivering the Black. I mean, in actual fact, the front half of the album, that's really strong. And looking at it there, I would have to say this probably is better than Unbreakable. Production's better. You got Road to Asylum, which is good. One Night in December. This is 9 minutes 18. This is the epic track. And it kind of breaks down into a kind of really cool middle section in this. Never Pray for Justice is good. Born with a Broken Heart's a kind of cheesy, ballad, that kind of you know, takes us down, and it finishes with them seminoid, sorry. Sounds 51 minutes. That's a really good track. Now, in actual fact, this version I have here, it's just a 10-track version, but I managed to get hold of the other tracks, and actually think there's a track called Innocent Man, and that should be on the album proper. That's really good, and then Man Without a Shadow is pretty decent. So this is really consistent, apart from Born With a Broken Heart. I'm going to say this is the best album. This is the one you should go to for this, and then follow it with Unbreakable, Nuclear Fire. You know, they're my go-to ones. What happens next is they start to get a bit samey, but I still think the next album's good. So now Randy Black leaves, and they're getting a guy called Francesco Giovino on drums. Basically, I think Randy Black had some kind of falling out with Ralph Sheepers. I'm not sure what happened, but it couldn't be resolved. And they bring Tom Nauman back in on guitars as a touring guitarist. So they've got 3 guitarists. Magnus Carlsen's very busy with other production projects. He teaches guitar and has a young family, I think. So it was agreed that he would play guitar and do writing and production because it's great for the sound. But they'd have you know, a touring guitarist, and Magnus Carlsen would do shows when he could. But this opens with Angels of Mercy, which is pretty good. Then The End Is Near, which is a kind of like a cool metal track. I'll just show you the cover. This is Rule Breaker. There's that eagle. Then Bullets and Tears, catchy. Rule Breaker, the title track's really good. That's probably the strongest track on side 1. And, well, I call it side 1. In Metal We Trust is tracks 5. It's another metal track. It's good. It's a good one. We Walk Without Fear. This is 10 minutes and 45. So again, this does the same thing as the One Night in September track. It has just a really epic sort of middle section. It's quite emotive. War of the Worlds, okay. The Devil in Me's good. Constant Heart's good. Sky is Burning, ballad, but I think more effective. And then it's got Raving Mad. Final Call, Don't Say You've Been Warned. The bonus tracks, again, I don't have the bonus on this, but Final Call's good. So not as good on this, but getting really good guys in to mix it now. I'm not sure who mixes this. Maybe Jens Bogram does it. But it's a really good sounding record again. They're really hitting some consistency. It just doesn't quite have the tracks, but it's still like a 7. Like I say, a lot of when the albums are good, they're a 7. When they're really good, a 7.5, 8 out of 10. The ones other than that dip below that, they're not worth having to me. And then you've got Apocalypse, which cool covers, cool digipacks. I've got all the tracks on this. Yet again, the too long these albums. I mean, with the bonus tracks, you've got 63 minutes. It starts with an instrumental Apocalypse, of course. You got New Rise, The Ritual, King of Madness. King of Madness is very good. Blood, Sweat and Fire. Then there's a track Supernova, which is cool. Hail the Fear, that's a good one. The Beast, that's alright. Actually, that's pretty good. And Eye of the Storm and Cannonball, they're really good. Not sure, can't remember the bonus tracks. This album's not as memorable. I haven't listened to it for a while, but at first when I put it on, I was like, I don't know if I'm that fussed with this, but it did grow on us. I did like it, and I do like it. So again, it's another 7. I'll have to give it a spin sometime. Recently did Metal Commando, so I bought this in the lockdown period. It was a weird time for everyone, and I was kind of buying music and listening online. I just think it's this album's kind of taking the formula too far. I mean, this album with the digipack bonus tracks is 70 minutes. There's just too many tracks on this. They do a 13-minute track called Infinity, which wasn't happening for me. Still the same lineup, but I've got a different drummer called Michael Eyre. Is he on the previous album? No, it's Francesco Giovino. So they've changed drums again. The drums are good. Always good in Primal Fear. You've got to be good to play in Primal Fear. Yeah, Jakob Hansen does the engineering, mixing and mastering. He's really good. So it's a good sounding record. It just hasn't, it's missing tracks that stand out. It feels like it's starting to kind of merge into one a bit. There's just too much. And I think they've kind of taken the new sound as far as it can go that's been building over Unbreakable. So you basically had Unbreakable, Delivering the Black, Rule Breaker, Apocalypse, and now this. So there may be need to sort of change things. I think going for like shorter tracks, a bit more punchiness. It's maybe time to reproach things. Actually gone back to Nuclear Blast as well on this front, the Apocalypse of the Last Frontiers album. But anyway, that's my trawl through the Primal Fear albums. Like I said, there's nothing original about them. You're looking at Priest, elements of thrash, Halloween and that, but they do it so well. And like I said, if you're craving metal and, you know, maybe there's a band, you know, your favourite bands haven't got any metal out, Primal Fear will not let you down. They do really good cover versions as well. Go on, listen to the cover of Metal Gods. It's really good. The cover of If Looks Could Kill by Heart's fantastic. There is a covers album. I'll have to dig that out. Okay, so thanks for checking out, and I'll see you again.